speaking and presentation program. Speaking in public is something that not everyone is capable of doing. Besides the rare opportunities, there are also a lack of ability to apply public speaking techniques. The self-ability certainly needs to be developed deeper so they can possess self-confidence when appearing in public. The design of this program was created specifically to develop public speaking skills, become a reliable communicator, and also strengthen self-confidence with good English proficiency. The benefits: the first is the ability to speak in public, secondly, the ability to speak confidently, and the third, the ability to overcome barriers when speaking in public. What are you waiting for? Let's join our program.
Then they will listen. If you don't do that, it becomes very hard to deliver the rest of your material. Oops. So the secret is, as I said, most public speakers will tell you, have a good beginning, which is what our lesson today is about. Have a good beginning, a good ending, because that's what people will walk away with. And keep them as close together as possible. So what in between matters as well. So there are different stages of opening. Let me lead you into this. So there are 4 stages of opening, and I've listed them for you. They're right here. Do you know what they are? Can anyone tell me? It's a bit of a puzzle. This is a brain teaser, and it's one of the techniques that we will use. Do we have a volunteer?
Yes, and for the volunteer, you are allowed to unmute the speaker and try to answer Miss Yasna then. Yes, please.
And you can maybe raise your hand to notify us if you would like to try and tell us what the stages of opening are. So this is a brain teaser. We are teasing your brain. What is that first word? Who can tell me? Andika, yes, I will. Miss Lina, how do I get to Andika now?
Yeah, the first one is attention,
They
right?
can unmute directly.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yes, attention.
Yeah, the first one is attention. Is it?
Of course. Would you like to try the next one?
Still thinking for the next one.
Okay, thank you so much. Would anyone else like to try?
Yeah.
So we've got a good start.
Okay.
We've got a good start.
Yeah, I think Gisela wants to try.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I have no idea for the second row. I cannot tell.
What about the third or the fourth? They get difficult.
Still too difficult. Sorry.
Okay, we have two more participants.
Pascal wants to try. Pascal.
I think Miss Desna, the second one is benefit, and the third one is credibility.
Yes, well done, Pascal. Great, you are correct. Okay, so your brain's done a great job. We haven't teased it enough. It's risen to the challenge. And the last one, who would like to try the last one?
Okay, still Pascal, I guess. Pascal, they're all yours.
Still thinking about the last one, Miss Desna and Miss Molina.
No worries. I will give you half a minute. Come on. Make those brain cells work hard. Give them a jolt. What can it be? We've got attention, benefit.
Could you give us a hint for the first letter?
The first letter. Okay, I will give you a clue. There we go. D. D, starts with a D. Yes?
Direction, maybe.
Direction, there we go. So well done, guys. You see, I've got you hooked. I've got you hooked. We were all here paying attention. We were all involved, concentrating, focused. We want to solve this puzzle. What are the 4 stages of opening? I didn't just give them to you. I could have done this. I could have just told you attention, benefit, credibility, and direction. But I could have lost someone along the way, or this wouldn't have been as interesting as making those brain cells work hard. That was my hook. My hook was solve the puzzle. This was the word puzzle, and by making you solve it, I've got you. I've got your attention now, don't I? See, now we are involved. We want to know more. We like paying attention. All right, so let's try with these stages. Let's explain. Sorry, let me actually go back and explain the stages. Each of these lead into the main body. So the openings in these formats. So these are different kinds of formats that you can start your speech with and then lead into the main body. So grab the attention. Okay, how do you grab the attention? And you can use various techniques to do that. And we'll discuss a few as we go along the way. Benefit. You highlight or you outline the purpose or why you are all sitting here in our webinar. What are you getting out of this webinar? And I will tell you, you're walking away with necessary tools that will make you better public speakers. Okay, that is the benefit that you're getting from this webinar. And my role as I start my speech is to tell you what your benefit is. Then you're okay with it. Oh, okay, I'm getting something out of this. I want to stay here. I want to listen. How does this benefit me? Another one, credibility. I can tell you, I have done many webinars and people have told me how much these webinars have benefited them over the years. Or I can tell you in the 10 years that I have been doing this, the webinars on public speaking have been well accepted. So I'm telling you my credibility. I'm telling you I have a degree in industrial psychology. Business communication depends on webinars, on public speaking. There we go. You now have, I'm a speaker with some credibility. You know about my credentials, my educational background, my experience. You can trust me. I know what I'm talking about. And finally, direction. Today I will talk about public speaking, and we will focus on openings and closings, which are termed to be the most important parts of the public speaking. We will go through some examples and we will end off with a questions and answers session. Now you know what to expect. You know which way we are going. I have given you direction. You know the direction in which this webinar is going, and you are more at ease. You know what to expect. So let's see. Let's start with some practice. So we have different examples of the different stages. So let's read A, and then I'll have a volunteer, hopefully, who can tell me whether this is attention, benefit, credibility, or direction. What technique is being employed in A? In the 60 minutes, it will take me to give this presentation. 7,000 US businesses will go bust. What am I employing here? What kind of technique? Attention, benefit, credibility, or direction? What do you think?
I think benefit.
You think benefit, okay?
Yes.
Sorry, did you say benefit? Okay. So I'm telling you that 7,000 US businesses will go bust. They will go bankrupt. Something will go wrong. Only in 60 minutes only, while we're doing this webinar, 7,000 US businesses will go bust. I'm telling you something shocking. I mean, that's not a nice fact. What do you think? How are you benefiting from this information? I'm not telling you anything about my credibility. Which one do you think I'm employing here? Which one am I using? Am I grabbing your attention by a very strange fact? Have I got your attention that in the 60 minutes, in 1 hour that we do this presentation, 7,000 businesses will go bust, will go bankrupt?
Yes, it did.
Have I got attention,
Yes, it is
right?
to grab attention from the audience. Yeah.
There we go. So I'm telling you something shocking. It's a shocking fact because I want your attention. You didn't know that 7,000 businesses over America go bust every hour. But that's a fact. And now I've got your attention. You don't know what will follow, but all of a sudden you want to know. Why are these businesses going bust? What's going on? Okay, let's do B. In my 15 years in Silicon Valley, I've learned quite a bit about managing risk. Which one is it? Yes, of course, credibility. I've got 15 years of experience. C, somebody once said, a brand is a promise. But what happens when that promise is broken? This one is not that easy, I have to be honest. Tell me what you think. I will tell you what I think, but tell me what you think for C. It's definitely not credibility. It's not credibility. Oh, sorry. Do you think attention or direction?
Direction, maybe.
Could be. I would go between us. So I thought attention in the way that it's posed as a question. So it's posed as a question, and that's one of the techniques that we will look at. But what we're answering a question, what happens when that promise is broken? So I would say attention, but it can be direction because I can then outline. So my follow-up, my delivery is about what to do when the promise is broken, when the brand doesn't deliver what it promised. So it can be, I would be more inclined to say attention, but as I said, you can argue that it can be direction as well. D, I think this one is very easy. By the end of this morning's talk, you'll know how to say no and feel good about it. Which one is it? What are you getting out of it? What will you know by the end of this?
Benefit.
Benefit, yes. You will know how to say no. Okay, we have a few more. E. My presentation this afternoon is in 3 main parts. Feel free to interrupt as we go along.
Direction.
Direction, yes.
Direction.
Yes, yes. So that's easy. I'm telling you that it's going to be 3 main parts. What I hope you'll get from this afternoon session is a clearer idea of how CRM works. What are you getting out of it? What will you get from this afternoon session?
Benefits.
Benefit, of course. G, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the team at VW that developed the original Golf GTI. Easy.
Credibility.
Yes, good. And H, today we're looking at options A and B, and I'll be happy to take questions at the end. Direction?
Direction.
Yes. Okay, direction. So you know what's going to happen. All right, so these are some of the openers, the techniques that you can use. I'll go through a few of them. So we can start with the question. And so we are opening the presentation with the question that needs to be answered. A joke. Humor is always great. Your audiences will love you. People like to laugh. It's a positive feeling. Surprising, sorry, this spelling mistake, but I will correct it. Surprising fact or statistic. So a surprising fact or a statistic is something like those 7,000 US businesses going bust. If you didn't know that, it will surprise you, and it's a fact or a number or a statistic. Somebody well-known, if we use a well-liked celebrity, a well-known personality, celebrity or a person, a politician, even a sportsman, somebody who grabs your attention by something they have done is a good introduction. Talk to your neighbor. So I can invite you to talk to your neighbor and ask them, have you ever attended a public speaking seminar? Have you ever done public speaking in your company? So I will tell you as a presenter what to ask your neighbor. And that makes people more, I suppose, relaxed. They start communicating. They have to turn around and be involved. They have to be in the moment. So you bring their attention back to the room by telling them to speak to their neighbor. A popular myth, it's relatable to the topic. So whatever myth or something that is considered well known or accepted, like the fact that majority of the people have a fear of public speaking. There is a myth that public speaking is more feared than death itself. It's a myth, it's not actually true, but it's a very popular myth that people fear public speaking more than death. A photo or a cartoon, we are very lucky because we live in the world of memes, and there is a meme for every possible thing, usually funny ones or attention-grabbing ones, or with famous personalities and celebrities that can be relatable to the topic or whatever you are discussing that day. A video is always good. People are visual. So people can be auditory or visual, and you grab their attention by showing a video. Of course, a problem or a puzzle is what we did in the beginning, and you saw how easy it was to grab someone's attention by giving them a puzzle. Raise a hand. It's an action. It's kinesthetic learning. If you ask your students to do something with their hands, they will remember it easier. They will associate the movement with the process, with the wording, with the idea. So if you ask them to raise their hand and answer a question, in a sense, how many of you have attended a public speaking seminar? Then you have to do an action. Yet again, you're bringing them into the moment. You're making them present. They have to think, have I been to a public? Yes, I have. Let me raise my hand. How many of you wish you hadn't come to the seminar? Now you're making a joke. You're saying, you don't want to really be here, do you? Raise your hand if you don't want to be here. Some people will think twice about it, but they might laugh, but they will raise their hand, some of them, but you're calling for an action. You're making it interesting, vibrant, energetic. And a story or an anecdote, people love stories. That's how you grab their attention from when we were kids. Remember, you always wanted a story, maybe before bedtime. We love stories. We engage our imagination. We see things, we see pictures in our head when we're told a story. Okay, so let's play around with these so if you understand them better. I would like somebody to tell me, what do we give them? Give them what do you give your audience? What can you give your audience?
Question.
Give them a question. Yes. Good job. Okay. Who do you quote? If you quote a
Somebody well known.
Somebody will know.
yes, and very famous people. So we quote politicians, we quote philosophers, Aristotle, Plato, Chinese philosophers, we quote American presidents, we quote people because it gives them credibility. It gives their saying a credibility. Okay, what do we show them? What do we show your audience?
Video.
Video,
Yes,
yes, or
Cartoon.
yes, or visual. Think visual. We show them something visual. Great. What do you tell them?
A story. Anecdote.
Yes, a story, an anecdote, or a joke.
a joke.
News
A joke.
headline.
Joke. A news headline.
Yes, this headline, a popular myth. Yes. So if you're funny, if you have a good sense of humor, my advice is always tell them a joke. That's the greatest opener. It lightens the mood. It makes people feel at ease. It doesn't come easy, but there are a few jokes that you can practice and they're great. They're very practical in situations like this. And finally, ask them
To raise hand.
ask them to raise hands or ask them
Hands. A question.
Question.
and yes, and ask them to
To talk to their neighbor.
Talk to the neighbor.
there we go. So you can tell them or ask them. So I would say between 4 and 5, you can tell them to talk to the neighbor or ask them to talk to them. So it's more a kinder ways to ask them. So, would you like to talk to you? Would you like to ask your neighbor or tell your neighbor and so on? So you can choose 4 or 5. You can tell them to talk to their neighbor or ask them. Let's see some examples. So memes are great. So for example, this is the meme. So if I am now, my presentation, my public speaking is about public speaking. So I can start by, everyone knows Hermione from Harry Potter, I hope. So she says, we could get killed or worse, forced to do public speaking. This plays into the general myth that people fear public speaking worse than death. So that death is easier than public speaking. This is what the meme says. Is it so? So we can start, I can show this and I can say, that's not really true because we can learn many different techniques where public speaking becomes your second nature or it becomes easy. And it's one of your many, many talents or skills that you can boast about to your friends and colleagues. This is what we want. So we don't want Hermione saying that. This is what we want. We want the confidence. The saying public speaking, I got it covered. I've got this. I know what I'm doing. It's easy. It's my thing. I think Barack Obama is one of the most famous and much appreciated public speakers of our time. So, for example, I can start with a myth. Another myth is that great speakers are born that way. Throughout history, some of the well-known positive and negative characters have been great speakers. I believe Hitler from Second World War was known for great public speaking skills. And people might say, people like that are just born that way. They captivate their audience. You know, that's something they're born with. And many do believe that. Do you think that that's true? Are great speakers born that way? Well, I hope not. Otherwise, you know, why are you here? We're here to learn. And that's why I believe that you don't believe this myth, that you know that you can learn to be a great public speaker. So it's a learned skill. So it's a myth. Speakers are born with the ability to connect confidently and easily with a room full of people. That's a myth. The truth is, anyone like you who aspires and decides to improve their public speaking can do so. It's a learnable skill which can be achieved through commitment, hard work, and determination. And I hope that's what you've got, that you are committed, that you will work hard at it, and that you are determined to be great public speakers. I can also do statistics or facts. So this is a statistic. People love hearing statistics. You grab them with numbers. It shows your credibility as well. You know, people trust numbers. So your delivery, and I said this from the beginning, that your delivery matters more than your content. So it's not just what you're speaking about. It's your beginning, how you grab the audience. It is your end, what you leave them with. And it is your ability to deliver the material. So according to research, what you say to an audience isn't nearly as important as how you say it. Studies suggest that effective presentations are 38% your voice, 55% non-verbal communication, so your body language, your facial expressions, and only 7% your content. Think about it. That means that you should spend even more time preparing your delivery than you do developing awesome content. Something to think about. Food for thought, guys. Food for thought. I can ask you to answer some questions. Okay, so I want to involve you. Things Americans fear the most. Walking alone at night is number 1. Being the victim of identity theft online is number 2. Safety on the internet is 3. Mass shooting is only number 4. I think that's crazy. I think that should be number 1. What is number 5? What do you think? What do Americans fear the most? What is number 5?
Public speaking.
Yes, you see, which ties into my content. So my content, my speech is about public speaking, and I'm leading you into it by telling you that this is what Americans fear the most. So it's not fate worse than fear. Worse than death, sorry, as we said before, but it's number 5 on the list. They believe that it's just after mass shootings, although I would put mass shootings at number 1, but that's just me. This is an anecdote, a funny story. Okay, so if I was to come in and I'm talking to you, my name is Yasna, and I said who I am, and I would introduce myself and say, while traveling with Sister Cities Chamber of Commerce, I was asked to speak about, to a group in Japan. I was asked to speak after breakfast about marketing in the US. Seeing an opportunity to show off my linguist skills, my language, I asked my interpreter how to pronounce the words on the distant sign. So there was a sign I could see for ladies and gentlemen, which I thought were the toilets, right? After practicing to myself, I began my speech with "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen," in Japanese. This got quite a reaction from the audience. I delivered a killer 20 minutes of marketing wisdom and sat down to a generous applause. I was quite pleased with myself. Only later did I learn how strange my greeting was. One of our hosts gently inquired why I had started my talk with good morning, toilets, and urinals. So this poor speaker thought that the sign in Japanese said, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, when in fact the sign was saying toilets and urinals, and basically opened his speech in Japanese that he doesn't speak by saying good morning, toilets, and urinals. Now, the audience must have loved this. So this is just a story about public speaking, but it makes people want to hear more. So it's a funny story. It's not just a story. It's a funny story. And then the speaker would go on about marketing. Okay, this is another technique. I actually heard a speaker say before he started his presentation, if you can't hear me, please raise your hand. How can you raise your hand if you can't hear him? So this is also a funny one and something that would make people want to raise their hands. But this is a story, an anecdote. It's a funny one. And then he repeated himself. So read that again. If you can't hear me, so he's saying this, he doesn't have this written. He's saying this to the audience. If you can't hear me, please raise your hand. No one's going to raise their hand if they can't hear him. So it's a joke. There we go. Then we go into the show of hands. I can say to you, how many of you think this way to open a speech is overdone? Is this boring? Have you seen this before? How many of you think it could be done better? And then everyone will, please raise your hand if you think you can open, we can learn a new skill. How can we do this better? Raise your hands. That's the way to start. These are some of the funny puzzles and questions that we can do. What are 2 things you can never eat for breakfast? Who can tell me? This is a mind puzzle.
Lunch and dinner.
Yes, all right. Okay, I will skip the rest because we're going to run out of time. And okay, I want to just go quickly. Miss Malina, can I go into closings and then we can have Q&A?
Okay. You still have 7 minutes now to distribute the lesson. Okay. And
okay. Before.
Before
All
the
right.
question
Okay.
and answer. Yes, I think you have time for
Okay.
the closing. Make a brief one. Thank you.
All right. Let's just maybe complete the. Okay, it's fine. We'll skip that. Go into the closings. Okay, so those are the beginnings. And I think the beginning is even more important than your closing because you have to grab your audience. Okay, if you don't get them at the beginning, the rest of it doesn't matter. Okay, so your beginning is the most crucial part. Then your delivery, which we will discuss in further detail. And finally, your closing. Your closing is important because it's not just about the moment. There's a reason why you are delivering the speech. You want people to learn about something. You want them to do something. You want them, what is the purpose of your speech? So to make your last line or two truly eloquent, descriptive, meaningful, touching, accurate, and wise, this is some very good advice. Always memorize your last few lines. So don't read the notes. Makes it very impersonal and less meaningful. This is the time to deliver straight to your audience. Look them in the eye. Be one-on-one with the audience. Be in the moment. That's where your passion comes through now. Your passion is evident in these last few moments. You've done the great opening. You've delivered all the material that you worked so hard on. And now you've got to wrap it up. And you've got to leave them with something to remember. So eye to eye, person to person. Try to leave them with a thought that will continue to provide an echo after you stop. So it's something, there are different techniques. Dramatic summary, when you go over the few things you've discussed, just to remind, repetition is the mother of learning. So if you repeat briefly what you covered, it's easier for people to remember. So if I say to you today, we've covered different techniques to grab your audience, from humor to questions, to anecdotes, to raise your hands techniques, and famous wise words, when you can use your Aristotle or Obama or somebody that people will remember because they know that famous person. And we remember quotes of famous people, what Gandhi said, what Kennedy said. Call for action. You put the ball in their court. You have to go out there and save the world. Recycle. Throw away plastic. It's now up to you to save the future for your children, to save this planet for your children. So now you're telling them they're the ones that have to do it. Heartfelt message. Make it emotional. Make it maybe something that people will remember through a poem or a story even that will evoke strong emotions. We have some famous quotes. So if it's about public speaking, I will leave you with some words from Roger Love. All speaking is public speaking, whether it's to one person or 1,000, because you're not speaking to yourself. So you're speaking in public. Or I like this one. This one is very emotional. Make sure you have stopped speaking before your audience has stopped listening. Think about it. If your audience stops listening before you stop speaking, you've missed your mark. You haven't succeeded in delivering your speech if they've stopped listening before you stop talking. So make sure you have stopped talking before they stopped listening. So let's see if you can guess some of these techniques. What about the first one? Let's take a look back at what we've spoken about this morning. So is it a dramatic summary, famous wise words, call for action, or heartfelt message? So summary goes over all the points you've talked about. Wise words, famous people. Call for action, you have to do something based on what I said. And heartfelt message, feelings, emotions through stories. What do you think number one is?
Summary, is it?
Call for action.
Yes. Number two, I would say summary, because we're looking back at, I want to go back. But I see what you mean. Let's take a look back. Yes, okay, we've got to do something now. So not when you go out, this right now. Let's take a look back. Let's take a look at our lives when we walk out of here. That would be a call for action. I'm reminded of the words of
Famous what?
yes.
Famous word.
Famous wise words of Aristotle, of President Kennedy. Now, let's get out there and
Call for action.
yes, call for action. If you take just one thing from this talk, take this. What do you think this is?
Call for action also.
Heartfelt message.
Heartfelt message. Yes, I'm evoking your emotion. I'm evoking something very powerful, emotion. I'm being very passionate. In the end, this is what matters. I would say heartfelt message. This one is, in the end, this is what matters. Here at a glance are the main points I've made.
Summary.
Summary, very good. And so how to sum up? Wait. Summary, there it is.
Summary.
Summary, yes. I'm counting on you to
Call for action.
Yes, the ball is in your court. We have a saying where I come from.
Famous
saying.
words.
Yes. So what does, yes, famous wise words. So what does all mean for you?
Heartfelt message.
Connection to the topic. In a nutshell, then it's a summary. A nutshell, it's a phrase, very good phrase to remember. You will hear it very often. In the nutshell, I'm basically summarizing. In a nutshell, let me tell you what I've spoken about. In a nutshell, here is the summary. So that's without all the unnecessary detail, extra details. I'm doing away with this. We have a nutshell. In the famous words of Aristotle and the famous words of Barack Obama.
Famous wise words.
Yes. And the last one. So next time you see a plastic bottle on the street, remember to
Call
recycle
for action.
Yes, there we go. There we go. Okay, so should we open the Q&A, Miss Melina?
Yes, I think it's about time. Okay.
Sorry for that.
But okay, before the question and answer session, remember the slogan, okay, about public speaking and personality enhancement, that speaking with no fear. So please do not hesitate to ask questions to Miss Yasna. This is the time for you, okay, to improve your confidence. This is the time to ask about everything. Yes. Okay. I will let the first one to raise a question. Yes. Please, you can unmute the speaker and you can start the question.
No questions?
Okay. I think it's very clear.
Or face your fears. Face your fears.
Yeah. Speak with no fear and face your fear. Okay. Now, okay, nobody wants to ask questions? Now, before the end of the session, I would like to take a picture together of all of us. So could you please turn on the camera? All right, so it's also part of the rule of this webinar that everybody needs to turn on their camera so I can see your beautiful faces. Okay, there you are. Okay, and as you see, before we start to the first question from you, I would like to remind you that Ms. Yasna is a passionate and dedicated professional with a love of teaching, as you see from the lesson, and she's also advanced certificate in English teaching to young learners. Yes, so feel free to ask questions. Okay, anybody wants to try?
Me?
Yes, please. You can start the question now.
How to speak in front of students to make it interesting and fun?
I would say, so my personal favorite is, as I said, you have to have a good opener, especially with young students. If you don't get them at the beginning, it doesn't matter what's at the end. So with students and young kids, the how to grab their attention is a focal point. And with them, a joke, something lighthearted is great. Otherwise, asking them a question when they have to think for themselves and allowing them to feel confident that they can be part. So it's not a teaching, it's a two-way conversation. So they're used to sitting there and listening to you. But from the moment you give them a chance to ask a question and they have to answer, then they feel more involved. So apart from making it funny with a video, they love videos as well because they're very visual. So either a very interesting video, and they all love technology, so they'll see that and be more involved from the moment go. A question and raise your hands to get them involved, especially with young students, from my experience.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank
Who's
you.
going to ask? Okay, thank you, Miss Yasna. All right. Anybody else wants to ask questions? Remember, the time is limited, so this is the chance for you. Okay, to
So
ask
just
questions.
to
Yes, Pascal.
just
maybe
to
you have
Can
something?
I just add?
Yes.
Sorry, questions involve problems and puzzles. When I said you can ask them a question, asking them to answer a problem or a puzzle, obviously at their level, is also a good thing. You know, so give them a problem or a puzzle as a question. It doesn't have to be a rhetorical question. It can be, so, you know, do something and raise your hand. But a simple question is good because all of them will want to raise their hands and answer. My apologies, Pascal.
Okay. Yes. After
Good day, Miss
Pascal, Mary
Jasna.
then. Okay.
Good day,
All
Miss
right. You're on the
Jasna.
line. You're in the line.
Good day.
How to overcome our overthinking when we do public speaking? For myself, I think the most overthinking when I did public speaking are grammatical error and also formal language. How we overcome two most overthinking like that, man. Thank you.
Okay, Pascal, I lost the last bit. I got the grammatical error part. So let me answer the grammatical error and then maybe you can just ask the second part of the question. I would not focus on the mistakes. All right, forget that. So sometimes people, even in communication, people hold themselves back because they want to make everything perfect. No one is perfect and you're not judged on that. That's what you will see in the delivery of the content. That's why we said the content is not as important as your body language, your facial expressions. You draw people in through your confidence, through your positivity, through your energy levels, and gestures as well. So if you add on with the extras that you can control, the grammar does not take away from your delivery. It's a part of it, and some people may pick it up, but the communication is not grammar based. It's the words and the way you say them more than are they put in a grammatical correct. So, you know, when people read, sometimes they don't read word by word. They assume the meaning from previous knowledge as well. Spelling can be wrong and people will still get the meaning. So it just shows you that not every grammatical concept needs to be adhered to for your message to come across. So do not focus on that as much as on the rest that you can control, which is your delivery, your persona, your gestures, your voice, and your opening. Sorry, what was the second part? Because it broke up and I couldn't hear you.
The second part is formal language, Mrs. Jasna. Formal language. So we, myself, intend to think about the formal language. Is it suitable for the audience or not? how we overcome something like that, Mrs. Jasna. Thank
Okay.
you.
So if you know your audience, so adjust according to your audience. The previous student asked about delivering to students. So then you know that you can't use maybe some highly technical language or scientific language to a group of 7-year-olds. Also, don't use crude jokes with 7-year-olds, but don't use crude jokes with your superiors. And the level of language, if you know your audience, then you can adjust. So if it's a professional presentation, it will obviously be around something that you are an expert on. I may not be, because I don't do the job that you do. So you know your content, you are the expert, you are delivering it. You know the language around it. If you know your audience in a sense that you're delivering to your supervisors, then we have a little bit more of a formal language. So we avoid slang words. We avoid maybe jokes that may be offensive. But we use statistics. They love numbers. They love shocking facts. There is your beginning to.
Okay, it's clear, Miss. Thank you, Miss Yasna. Sorry
Is that okay?
to cut the time down because Mary has one more question
Sorry, I
to
don't
go.
know.
Yes, Mary, please.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Mary wants to ask questions.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask about how to deal with kind of situation. Maybe we already prepare something for our presentation and kind of blank in the middle. How to deal with it?
So you prepare the presentation and you have a lag in the middle between your beginning and your end.
Yeah.
Is that what the question is?
Yes.
Miss Molina, can you?
Okay, I guess there's been this technical error somehow. Okay, is it okay, Mary? Your question was about how to link all the
How to deal with
presentation.
how could I say? Perhaps we have already prepare something for our presentation, and in the middle in our speech or presentation we kind of blank stop.
Oh, you go blank.
How to stay focused? Yes, how to stay focused in delivering the presentation. Yes. All right.
Okay.
We got
So
it.
we will deal. So tomorrow we will deal with what happens in between. So I think once you have a good opening, you've already connected with your audience. Some personal stories are great. So if you have a personal story that's related to the topic, go back on it. You can say, oh, you know what happened to me? And then use an example from your experience until the rest of the material comes back to you, because you've already established a connection with your audience. And personal stories that people love as much as they love anecdotes and stories about other people. Connect various topics tomorrow. So from the beginning, you have the body of the material, and then you have your end. If at any point you blank out, so ask a question. Do you have any questions? And then hopefully it will come back to you while you're answering the questions, because they're asking you on the material that you've delivered. Or tell a story from personal experience, or ask them a question. Has this ever happened to you and related to the material? Tell me about your personal experience. Get them involved to talk while you kind of dig through your brain to remember the rest of your material.
Okay. Yes. Awesome. I guess it's very clear. All right, Mary. Okay. And tomorrow, webinar with interesting topic. Okay, and Miss Yasna will deliver the material tomorrow. Okay, and there will be 3 days of webinar. And for today's session, I would like to highlight, okay, the training today, that being a good speaker needs training. Nobody is born, okay, suddenly good at speaking. And the more eager you learn how to speak or how to learn about essential phrases, the better your performance will be. So never stop learning. Okay, and I already share over there. Okay, everybody, it's the attendance. I would like you to click in the meeting chat, so please go find it. And then for the attendance, I need you to fill out the form. And I also shared in WhatsApp group, in our WhatsApp group, and you're welcome also to do the attendance through from this link, from Zoom chat or WhatsApp group. And to close the session, thank you so much, Miss Yasna. It was very fruitful. And I believe, okay, everyone will get the benefits from, you know, your, what is it, clear, okay, what is it, coaching. And I would like to also, what is it, screenshot all of you. Let's take picture together. So speak with no fear, face the fear, and also turn on the camera, please, because I would like to have, yes, please, yes.
Could you share
Yusuf?
the presentation on WhatsApp group? We would like to learn more about the presentation that present by the presenter. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. All right. We will do that. Okay. Yes. And how about the others whose camera are still off? Okay. Yes. Thank you, Sarah. All right. So cheese, yeah. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay. Thank you. It was a nice participations from all of you. Thank you. And I hope we will see you again tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you,
Miss
Miss Molina.
Yani.
Thank
Yes,
you, everyone.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Bye.
Thank you,
much.
Miss. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Tomorrow.